essentially, like I said with the office paper, stick to the, the plastic bottles, water bottles, Coke, Pepsi bottles, things like that. And the thing you want to stay away from are any kind of oily substances, like if you're filling your car with, a quart of oil or something like that. That plastic bottle, unfortunately, is not recyclable. It just can't go through the process of recycling like ones that are cleaner. And it's always important to also clean everything off before you put it in. And so yeah, a couple other things commonly thought of as recyclable but not. We got this really great program in Jackson now where we can recycle stretchy plastic. Anybody ever have an idea what stretchy plastic might mean?
Not that.
This is actually stretchy plastic. Let me just step into my office real quick. I'll be right back.
Deep in the
So here's another great example of stretchy plastic. A common Ziploc bag in our world today is now recyclable, okay? And the reason for that is I can take my finger and I can press it in here and it stretches before it breaks. Does that make sense? Because you can get candy wrappers and stuff like that where if you go to stretch it like that, it just breaks instantly. It's all brittle and kind of weird, right? So the clear stretchy plastic that stretches before you break it is recyclable. But now, however, the thing about that, it needs to be clear or white, right? Because this particular type of plastic, whatever this was, is also stretchy before it breaks, right? But it's got this black thing that's got CFCs or whatever in it. So this is not recyclable in Jackson.
Is bubble wrap recycled?
Bubble wrap is recyclable. Any clear plastic that you can stretch your finger through and it stretches before it breaks, you can recycle that in Jackson Hole, right? And I'm telling you what, if you want to bring your personal recycling and do it here at the Jackson campus, you can totally do that, right? And the things that we can recycle are amazing, right? So another thing that people don't really understand that we can recycle, but they don't really know are textbooks in Jackson right now. All hardback textbooks, all paperback textbooks are completely recyclable right now. As is everything that we're wearing on our bodies. All textiles, all the clothes that Browse and Buy or whatever that they get. You wouldn't believe how much they actually would just throw away into the dumpster, right? And so Teton County Recycling got a hold of this news. And they're like, oh, wait, we can send this off to Salt Lake City and we can make money off of it.
So you can put a t-shirt in the recycling?
Put a t-shirt in, but I mean, you're not going to put, are you going to put it in the office paper recycling?
No,
you're not. At the recycling center is where they have more specified things like this. Does everybody know where that is? The recycling center in Jackson Hole?
I always go to the one by the Aspens, but...
Well, there's all these little nodes, all these little sort of points of contact where you can take your recycling. But a really great place, and maybe a good project for everybody, is to actually go down there and tour the recycling center. You get a hold of this guy named Mac Ducart, and he's the outreach coordinator at Teton County Integrated Solid Waste and Recycling, and he'll take you through a tour of the whole operation. So it's at that place. It's south of town. Does anybody know where the Adams Canyon is? There's that fire station,
yep.
Adams Canyon, and then the animal shelter. Yep. All that stuff is up there. It's that same exact turnoff up there. That's the recycling center, Jackson Hole. If you, instead of going left to the fire station, you go right, and that's the recycling center of Teton County. And if you go there, all your textbooks, all your paperbacks, all your textiles, every single piece of battery, every battery that you have, any electronics, old computers, TVs, all that kind of stuff can go right to the recycling center, and they deal with it for you for absolutely free. Okay, so those things are really important because, what's the point of a landfill, right? I mean, what is a landfill? A landfill is essentially just a huge hole in the ground where we put all of our stuff, right? And there's a limit to how much stuff we can put into that. So if we can limit these things like textbooks and scrap metal and CDs and old mouses that nobody ever uses anymore, that kind of thing can all go to that center south of town and be recycled. Any comments, Ethan?
The plastic that you were just talking about, both the flexible plastic or stretchy plastic, and then plastic bags. Are you okay with that getting recycled here in our facilities?
That's a good question. I was talking about this earlier today. As far as how we're handling that, all of those plastics are going into, whether it be number 1 or number 2, and the stretchy plastic, all go into the same container, and I'll deal with that. We don't want it to be too hard of an interface for people to deal with. Does that make sense? Cool. Any questions, comments, suggestions? This can also be a group thing. It's not just like property management. versus the kids at Journey School. Right? You guys are super smart, and we want your input in how we can make this situation run better. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And if you have any questions, you can always come up to me and ask me about it. You can go up to Ethan, like, Ethan, can you ask Ian this? Or I'm on the email listserv too as well. So, and you know, but a really, really great resource too is Teton County's website for integrated solid waste and recycling. And the guy I talked to down there is Mac Dukart. Like, I just had a question the other day. All of our cleaning products, the ones that you guys use, right, that come from High Country Linen or whatever, they come in, we get them in bulk in 5-gallon buckets, right? And then we disperse it to you guys. The problem is that we have a stack of 5-gallon buckets like 50 feet high, right? Because we try to reuse them for our tools and storage and things like that, but I'm like, my Google has 5-gallon buckets, and I asked Mac, I'm like, hey, can we recycle 5-gallon buckets? And he's like, you know, 5-gallon buckets are recyclable. We are just not doing them in Teton County, specifically because we don't have enough space at that center to deal with them all, right? That's the only reason. And that goes back to that point I made before about how unique of a place it is where we live here, right? This is an unbelievably unique place. So we have to think about these unique problems that we face on a week-by-week, day-to-day basis. Does that make sense to everybody? Anybody else have any brainstorming suggestions, comments, things like that?
You did a competition, like the checklist on that door, and every time you have to deal with something that's appropriately recycled, like tick marks, and kind of at the end of the year, maybe it's like the welcome center, the elementary school, and the high school building.
Yeah, I've often thought about that, about, you know, utilizing some sort of scoring system, like whether it's a week-by-week thing, like, hey, you know, MUPS nailed it this week, 99.8%. Whereas at elementary school, I mean, we have to give the kids a little bit of a break, right, sometime. But, you know, so the scale would be a little bit sliding. But, you know, those kind of things. Or Welcome Center, they got a 72, and now they have to come up and clean all the toilets at Journey School. Yeah. Cool. Anybody else? Awesome. Do you guys mind helping me do the recycling real quick?
No,
Cool.
we don't mind.
Awesome. Cool. I'm going to just pull up. So make sure you're clear of the truck and the trailer as I pull up. Cool.